We're joined on the call by the head coach in New Hampshire, Rick Santos. Good morning, Rick.
Morning, Rob.
As I was just talking about, Tony, a tough afternoon for you guys against a really good Villanova team. You come up short 37-7 as you've gone back and looked at some film. Just talk to me about what happened.
Yeah, just disappointed how we handled the moment. We had some adversity early in that game and just couldn't really quite respond. You look at the flow of it, that first drive, we throw an interception. Next play, they have a 35-yard touchdown run. You're down, a gut punch early, you're down 7-0, 2 minutes into the game. We do go down, subsequently get a touchdown, so it's 7-7 after one. Mitigated some of it and then all of a sudden, they score two out of their next three possessions, I think. And then we have down 14, have an opportunity late in the first half to go get some points. Marching down, had a couple decent plays called, took back-to-back sacks, would push us out of field goal range. And then they drive the length of the field, and get a field goal late, and then you're down 17 at the half. Get a really good stop coming out. Then we have a nice long drive, and then we missed a field goal, and that would have kind of cut it to two scores halfway through the third. Starting to feel like we were getting a little bit of the momentum back. And then at that point, they did just such a great job on the ground. I think we only had two possessions in the second half offensively. By the time that third one got it, the game was out of hand, and there was about a minute 50 left, and we just kind of ran the clock out. So, yeah, I mean, credit to them. They played, extremely well in all three phases. Ran the ball well. We've prided ourselves in controlling the clock a little bit through the first half of the season, and it was the exact opposite. We couldn't get timely stops, didn't do a good enough job offensively to keep the defense clean and healthy and off the field as well. So I just think just really disappointed, and the moment was a little big for our team.
What makes that? I was talking to Tony about it. What makes that rushing attack? They had 238 yards with Abbott. Obviously, is the guy that gets the attention, but they've got other guys with Mace and Ragland. What makes them so hard to stop?
I think the continuity in their offensive line, they don't beat themselves. They know really how to work well with their combination blocks, have to play, playing well off one another. They do a really good job scheming you up. And if they can motion and float the back and try to dictate some of the things that you do well and kind of get them into advantageous looks. So, and then they got really good running backs. They're physical, they can run through contact. I thought we had taken some strides a week earlier in how physical we were and how well we tackled. But they controlled the line of scrimmage, all day, really on both sides of the ball. They were bigger and stronger at the point of attack.
I know you guys are young, with some newer guys on that side of the ball, and your leading tackler, actually a freshman, Isaiah Jones, with 8 stops. Just maybe talk about what he brings to your team.
Yeah, you know what? He had his best game. He played clean, flew around. He was physical in his own right, and I think he's somebody who has all the athletic ability, and the want to. And now it's just letting the game slow down for him a little bit and find a way to continue to get him to prepare in the way that we need him to. So he's got a bright upside. And yeah, I think that's great. I mean, taking your lumps like that with an inexperienced team, it's only going to pay dividends going forward. There's obviously doesn't make it any easier. At the end of the day, we need to play better. I need to coach better. The entire staff needs to do a better job getting our guys ready for a game of that magnitude.
Offensively, you talked about the way your team was able to respond after that early interception, 75-yard drive, and Matt Bessa was able to break loose on a 35-yard run to tie it up. But as you said, no points after that, only 207 yards on the game, and kind of struggled in the run game. Was that more Villanova's defense, or as you said, stuff that you'd like to get fixed on your end?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of both. I think it's, they were putting the pressure on us. They dictated the terms of engagement in that entire game, to be honest with you. And we need to be better. We need to put the kids in better situations. And I think the kids need to take some accountability as well. I think, we all got to look in the mirror and figure out how we can find a way to get better, in particular in the run game.
Another tough challenge this week as you guys hit the road against the Rhode Island team that's nationally ranked. As you started to dive into them, what are some of the challenges they present for you?
Yeah, I mean they're top three in total offense, total defense. They got a ton of speed on special teams. Extremely well coached. They play hard. They're physical. Offensively, the quarterback's playing at an extremely high level. He's courageous. He's athletic and can improvise and make some stuff, but he stays in there and can make some throws under duress and doesn't mind getting pressured. Probably the most complete and dynamic skill group that we've faced to date. You know, three really elite receivers, starting with Buchanan. He's as good as anybody in the country. They have length on the perimeter, you know, guys that can go get it. So they do a good job in the RPO game, getting the ball out of his hand. And then I think they want to push the ball down the field. I think their vertical passing threat is really, really elite. And it's something that we got to make sure we do a really good job kind of putting a net on that. And defensively, you know, they're physical, they stop the run. You know, AJ Pena is a matchup nightmare out there. And I think at all three levels, they have guys, you know, that are game wreckers. So, you know, it's one of the best teams, you know, if not the best team talent wise that Rhode Island's probably ever had. So credit to Coach Fleming, his staff. You know, they're doing a nice job with a blend of some transfers, some impact transfers, and then some homegrown guys that they've recruited from the state and in the area, and they do a really good job there. So, yeah, we certainly got to play a lot better this week if we want to have a chance to win that one.
Talked about the weapons that they have in the passing attack and some of the transfers. One of those, Antoine Littleton, that big back. How does he benefit from their passing game then and make sure you're paying attention to the run game too?
Yeah, he's a complete back. He's physical. He'll run through arm tackles. You got to wrap up with him. He does a great job in pass protection as well. You know, he's somebody that, you know, they can keep in there. He's an every down guy. They can throw him the ball. So I think he's complete. Does a phenomenal job. He's got good vision. I think their offensive line is awesome as well. I think those guys are physical. They have an edge about them. You know, they play nasty. So this is a really, really complete football team. You know, obviously it's a game last week that I'm sure they want back, just like us. So they're going to be ready to go, and they're hungry. And you know, we know what type of game we're in for.
Well, you touched on AJ Pena a little bit. Obviously, everybody around the league and around FCS football knows what kind of player he is. It is a offensive guy. When you have a guy like that, you're trying to neutralize. What's the best way to try to do that, and what makes him so tough?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to completely take him out of the game. I just think it's you know, figuring out the right times when you want to run at his side and just try to, you know, take a deep dive into the tape, you know, and see which formations kind of might present, you know, that might give us advantageous looks. But he's stout. He's really strong. That's the one thing, you know, he can knock back, and he can also rush the passer. So he's a complete player.
All right, Rick. Thanks so much for your time here this morning, and I look forward to talking.